Hello, and welcome to A Night with the Dark Knight, the show that takes a look at Batman through the ages, for better or for worse.
With your dynamic duo, Aidan Gula.
And me, George Ellis.
And tonight, we'll be talking Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker.
Yes, it's a canonical successor to Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond is.
Yes.
And Batman Return of the Joker is basically Batman Beyond, kind of with a big budget, really. But before we get into talking about that, last week we spoke about the Suicide Squad, and There's been a fair bit of news about how that's been doing in the box office.
And how it's been doing generally overall. Everybody seems to be somewhere between me and you, I've noticed. Some people are going, yeah, I really liked it. Everybody's saying, I mean, again, spoiler alert. So if you don't want to hear it, then just skip forward.
Yeah, skip forward.
But a lot of people are going, they killed Rick Flag, which is what I was saying last week. I was going, so? It meant nothing to me. But I've seen a lot of people reacting to that. There's also been they've been saying that Taika Waititi was originally supposed to play a much bigger character, but he was unable to do it, unable to fit it into his schedule. So they moved him to Ratcatcher 1. So a lot of people are theorizing he was the original Thinker, which I think kind of would make sense, but obviously much better that we got Peter Capaldi, so that worked out.
Yeah, I think he would have been interesting, but I do think Peter Capaldi killed it as the Thinker. So
that's been, but the big kind of let down of what's happening is the box office result. And it doesn't mean that nobody's watching it, because it's for free on HBO Max in America. So you can just sit down and watch it in the comfort of your own home. But it's made $65 million worldwide to a budget of 180 million.
Which it could still make its money back, and it probably will do. It's just quite disappointing that that's the opening weekend compared to Black Widow, which made like 180, I think. Can't remember. But I think the key difference is between Black Widow and this isn't the quality of the film. It's the fact you can watch it on HBO Max, The Suicide Squad, for free.
For free. Yeah.
It's within the subscription, whereas on Disney Plus, it was an extra 30 quid. So that's kind of like, do I pay the 30 quid and get it now, or do I go to the cinema?
If they'd put Black Widow on Disney Plus for free, I absolutely would have just watched it there.
Same. And it feels like a dumb decision on the higher ups decision. Like it's a dumb decision. Why did you think that making it free on a subscription service would be a good idea? Because all people are going to do, if they've got that service, is stay at home. Like, I'm pumped to see the Batman, like really so excited. But if for some reason I was able to get it for free on Netflix, a part of me might do that. I probably wouldn't, but it's like I could watch it at home without anyone in the same room, and I could eat a pizza. You know, it's kind of it's a bad decision making it free. And
well, it was when they decided that they put like their entire next 2 year slate, they've said is all going up digitally. And I think Christopher Nolan said at the time, everybody who works for Warner Brothers went to bed working for the best movie studio and woke up working for the worst streaming service. And I think it's a weird thing, because it's like, do you prioritize getting numbers of people to see it, or do you prioritize making money? And you think, well, a studio would prioritize making money, but they seem to have prioritized just people seeing it instead. And they seem to rely on, well, people will go and subscribe to HBO Max for it. And it's kind of like, they already have it. Who are these new people?
And the new people are just going to come with a free trial.
New people will probably just go to the cinema or not at all.
Yeah. So ultimately they're gaining nothing from this. I don't understand the thought process here, because it doesn't gain anything.
Got everybody who's already got HBO Max isn't going to go to the cinema. It's only your remaining people that are going to go to the cinema. So it's like, they're not going to come to HBO Max, and HBO Max isn't going to go over there. So you've not achieved anything. You've like lost, say 70% of people have HBO Max, 30% are going to the cinema. Why have you prioritized the wrong thing? It doesn't really make any sense to me. But
it feels like what they've basically done is they've just split their fan base in half. Like they've actively gone, chop. You half go watch it on TV. You
And then-
half go to the cinema. Thank you.
And
That's
then
all
the
they've done.
frustrating thing is, if this doesn't even make its budget back, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think it will eventually. But say if it doesn't, then they're going to go. Then Warner Bros. Going to look at that and go, well, that was a flop. We don't want to do any more of that. Let's go in a different direction. And it's like, no, that is the direction you should be going in. But you've made a mistake.
This
by
is
not getting any money from it.
So the one time Warner Brothers make a good decision by giving James Gunn the Suicide Squad, they make another bad decision, which means they'll think this was a bad decision to start with. That
James Gunn
summarizes them.
James Gunn's been talking about what he would do in a sequel recently, and it's like, well, we're probably never going to see that now because they're going to go, well, this didn't work, did it? Yeah, it did. But it's not when you're not making any money from it.
It is like me saying to you, Aiden, do you want to buy these really nice cookies? You can buy them round the corner, or I can give you them for free here. It's
like I'm still getting the cookies, but what do you gain? What do you gain from it?
Exposure for James Gunn. Like what?
Yeah, one of the biggest directors in the world right now.
Like the only time
does he need exposure?
I just don't. Are they doing it for the Batman? This same thing? Because if they do, that's going to be.
I believe so. Yeah.
That is ludicrously stupid. It is dumb. They're
I think it was all Warner Brothers films until 2023, something like that.
Oh, brilliant! And
not
the thing
just
is,
DC,
we can't even
all
get
Warner Brothers films.
Why? Right, Christopher Nolan's jumped ship. I think everyone else should as well at this point. DC jump ship. They may own the rights, but you can just sell them to someone else. Someone else buy DC's rights, please, because I don't want it to flop. But that's enough about that, because that just makes me sad. So let's talk about.
It needed addressing, because it's just like
it needed addressing.
Last week I said I liked it, but I didn't love it. It sat on me, and I do like. I'm sitting at that, but I did really enjoy it, and it's the most enjoyment I've had from a DC film for a long time, as in 10 years at least. And then when it looks like it could be going in a good direction, it's probably not now, because they're going to see it as a flop. When it's not a flop, it's done very well and people are very enjoying it, but they've not made any money from it.
And the press aren't helping by saying that it is a flop. They're saying it's a flop and then they're going into the details. But Warner Brothers aren't going to read the article. They're just going to look at the title.
And that's so misleading as well, because all the reviews before that, it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's dropped down a bit now, but it had 100% when the reviews first went up. So the press first was like, Suicide Squad, the best DC movie ever. And now they're like, it's a flop. And it's like, oh, God, it's so misleading.
Because it's not a flop. It is a flop technically, but it isn't, because the reason it's a flop is because it's free. It's like, it's literally making pirating films legal and free. Why? I mean, because even on YouTube, for crying out loud, because I've recently watched Suicide Squad twice. I saw it a second time. It was better the second time, actually. But on YouTube, I'm just getting recommended in my feed clips from the film. And I'm like, how are people getting it at this quality? And now I know it's because it's free. And I can see so many clips from the film at the top quality on YouTube. And that's another reason why you shouldn't have it for free on streaming, because people are just going to pirate it that way. It's a dumb decision. Either tailor towards streaming or tailor towards the cinema. You can't really do both. And the best way to do both, although it does annoy me that kind of Disney Plus charge so much for these new releases, it makes sense for the cinema to survive. It just makes sense. Well, that's enough about the Suicide Squad, because it just makes me a bit sad talking about it. But no, let's talk about something a bit lighter, a bit happier, it's still quite traumatic, but let's talk about Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, what we're actually here to talk about.
Yes. A box set that I've had since before I even met you, but never watched. Went on a shelf and I was like, I'll get round to that one day. And it's taken me until today to actually finally watch at least one of the discs.
Not even a disc that's been remastered, just one of the discs.
No, there was like 6 blue discs or something, and then 1 black disc. And this was that 1 black disc, which they obviously just got from another box set and stuck it in here.
Yes, it's just the Batman Beyond. It's just the Return of the Joker DVD. It's not the Blu-ray.
Yes.
It's just the DVD. But no. Let's start on your initial thoughts, because you'd never seen any Batman Beyond before even watching
I
this.
knew bits of it, and as I was watching it, I've realized I've seen the scene where Batman is confronting proper Batman. I mean, is confronting the Joker, and he says the whole thing like, "Oh, this isn't even funny. It's just sad," that kind of thing. For some, that, when they're in that theater kind of thing.
Yeah.
For some reason, I've seen that scene before. Why I've seen it before, I don't know. But as I was watching, I was going, I've seen this. So I must have come across it on YouTube at some point and just watched it. I knew most of the details. It's an old Batman, and it's Terry McGinnis, and he flies about. I knew that much. Other than that, not a clue, really.
Not a clue.
But I was like, whatever. I mostly enjoyed it. It was the same thing with Mask of the Phantasm, where I was kind of like, this is good. And then I just Google it just to see like probably the year. And then I end up seeing Rotten Tomatoes, and it was like 91%. And I was like, really? For this, I don't know what Mask of the Phantasm was, but I can remember doing the same kind of thing. And this one was 91%, when I was more like, I'd give it more like 71. Like 91 seems a bit high, but sure, I guess. So I don't know. I don't think it's that good. And there was a bit in the film when everything after that, I was like, oh, I don't like this now. But up until that, I did enjoy it, even though some things didn't quite make sense. But
no, well, the thing about things not making sense, there are a hell of a lot of continuity issues in this that I Googled, and there's a huge list of them. Like,
really?
Yeah, for example, do you know when he heads towards the Jolly Jacks at the end after being at the lab? There's a whole animated section there that should have been in there of how he figures out where to go. Instead, he's just on his way.
That's a very good point. I didn't even think of that. He just knows where he is, doesn't he?
The candy that Joker was eating was meant to have a sticker on it saying Jolly Jacks, but they didn't animate that. So it's just not there, because it's in the script, but it's just not there. And there are also quite a few continuity issues with the uncensored and censored cut. So which version did you see? Like, because I want to make crystal clear.
Well, it'll be the same one that you saw.
Yes.
'Cause
How
we've
did
got
the
same
Joker
box
die
set.
for you?
Off screen.
Yes. The way the Joker dies in the uncensored version, he's shot by Tim Drake in little Joker form. He's shot by Tim Drake, and it's a bit more of a...
In this one, he gets electrocuted, doesn't he?
Yes. It's a bit more of a visceral death, and he has a final line saying, "That's not funny. That's not funny at all." That's what happens. And in the split between the two versions, there are some moments where Joker would have a knife in the uncensored version, but in this one he doesn't. But then in one frame he does, because it's just been carried over. It's very interesting, the differences. Nothing major other than just making Joker's death a bit less gruesome, but I think it's a bit less impactful as well.
When I was watching it and you said that was the censored and uncensored, I assumed that was the main scene, because I thought it was a bit weird for that to be done off screen, really. Then I didn't really think it'd be a different death. I don't know which one I prefer, because I think getting electrocuted is more brutal than getting shot. But also I prefer the line. So if he got electrocuted and the line, I'd like that combination.
I think the reason I like the uncensored version is because it's the Joker getting shot by Tim Drake, whereas in the censored version he kind of electrocutes himself in a way.
I thought that was a bit lame.
And I think it's more powerful having Tim Drake be the one who shoots him and being like,
if it was Tim Drake,
you tortured me.
Well, the ultimate combination there then is Tim Drake electrocutes him. There we are. That's the proper version.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Getting shot is a bit lame for the Joker. I think you need something a bit more impactful. It's like, this is Joker, man who has caused all this trouble. You could have shot him at any time.
But I also like how he was shot, because it's like he got shot with his own weapon, and also it's kind of like, yeah, he's this big bad, but screw him, it doesn't give the Joker the satisfaction of having this huge big death. It's just
true, but I prefer it to be a bit more epic.
Just
it's like if
pull his head off.
It's like, I mean, Is there a canonical death for Batman? Do we know how Batman dies?
I mean, in any instance where Batman does die, there's usually a hint of he's not dead. So
Because I was about to say, because if Batman's going to die, do you want him just to go, oh, I think this is my time? Or do you want it to be in a big blaze of glory in one final battle? You want it to be in one final battle, don't you? You don't want him to just go, I think I'm a bit old now.
But the Joker's the bad guy, and I don't think giving the bad guy the big send off is good. Like, it's very interesting though, but still, I do like how we do get a canonical death for the Joker. But we've really jumped in headfirst into the whole plot here.
We always do.
But yeah, let's just fuck it. Why not? The traumatic element of this film being Tim Drake being tortured. What do you think of that? Because I've always found
I loved that.
Ooh.
I loved it because the thing I always think with Batman the Animated Series, and that was kind of this universe. Let's talk about this just this universe. It's good. Of course it's good. It's amazing. It's not good. It's amazing. It's brilliant. But I always, whenever I watch Batman the Animated Series, I always go, this is great. But you can tell kids are in mind when they're going, we need to make this appropriate for kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're going, those kids are growing up a bit now. They can handle this. Let's do it. And I kind of like the way it's kind of just not just because they could have very easily just gone, we've captured Robin. Oh, he's in a cage. Oh, no. But no, he's mini Joker now. Look what we've done to him. We've traumatized. Look what we've done to him. We've literally altered him. Tim Drake is dead. He lives no more. He is this Joker kid now. And it's like, I was like, what was going, that is very metal. I like that. So my note was, Tim's fate really dark and sick. That was what I wrote. I was like, I like this.
It's very modern Batman, I think, because you have Jason Todd dying and coming back to life. You have all this horror that happens in the comics, and it's very modern Batman to see this kind of thing happen. It does hurt a little bit to watch because I've seen the New Adventures of Batman. So to see that happen to Tim Drake is quite painful, but then it adds a bit more of a layer to it in a sense as well by giving these characters a finite end of a kind of a continuity, really. They're this character in the New Adventures, then this happened, then they're these characters in Batman Beyond. And I do quite like it. It's traumatizing to watch, and it doesn't sit well in the sense of it's quite upsetting, but it sits well in the sense of fitting within Batman Beyond's universe. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm going to say that we'll probably come on to this a bit more shortly, but I've got 2 points to say here.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, that same feeling you have there is how I feel with the chip in the neck Tim Drake reveal later on. I go, I don't like this. But I guess it makes sense. That's how I feel with it. As I was thinking about it, I was going, well, this should have... Well, no, because that makes sense. Okay, it makes sense, but I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, I kind of... But we'll come on to that shortly. But with the Tim Drake thing here, I do quite like, because even though, Dick Grayson going off to become Nightwing, that's all cool and whatever. But that's another thing that feels kind of kiddie in that it's like going, yeah, he left Batman. Oh, well, he's this other thing now. So he's not really stopped. He's still the character but he's got a different costume on now. It still feels very safe. To then go, this Robin left Batman because he was tortured and mutilated by the Joker. That's like this is a show for kids. Mm-hmm. Is it really? Because that I like that. I like it because it's just not as kiddie. And it's like, we will do this because we can.
I think that's another reason why I like the uncensored version more than the censored, because now I've actually seen both. That was my first time watching the censored one yesterday. I feel like by watching the censored one, it feels like it's going heavy metal, but not going all the way. So it doesn't quite flow. But with the uncensored version, it's like even when Batman's beating up the Joker's got blood down his face in the uncensored version. And do you know that knife Batman uses to cut through the rope?
Yeah.
You're probably wondering, where did that go in the censored version? In the uncensored, he throws that at Joker's head and he ducks. And that's why there's that hole in the curtain behind him in the censored version as well. Bit of a continuity error. But I really like that moment because it just shows that I feel like the uncensored one is the canonical version, whereas the censored one is kind of a slightly altered one. That's how I see it. Because what it does in that scene is it's basically because Batman is a lot darker in the New Adventures of Batman compared to how he is in Batman the Animated Series. He's a bit darker, and then he's even more dark in Batman Beyond. But what that means is him throwing the knife is he's seen what Joker's done to Tim here, and he's now going to kill the Joker. That's what he's doing. So I think it lands more credence to the line where he says, "I will break you in two," which is an incredible line from Kevin Conroy, delivered perfectly. I feel like it adds more weight to that, where he is going to kill the Joker. And I know it's a bit sick and twisted, but I always like moments where you see Batman kind of snapped by Joker, and he's like, "I'm going to kill the Joker now because he's gone too far." I like that moment in a sense, and he's just beelining for the guy. I just like it. Sorry, but it's just this all adds elements to why I've always kind of liked this film. And also, what you're saying is it being for kind of older kids. Batman Beyond, all of Batman Beyond, kind of feels like everything's a bit older
because it's not really that many years later, is it?
Well, it first aired in 1999, so
And
it's
Batman the Animated Series 92, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's only like 7 years later. That's not that much time, really. But if you were, I don't know, 8 when you watched Batman the Animated Series, you'd be 15 now. So you would want something a bit higher up than if you were 15 when you watched Batman the Animated Series. You're 22 now, so you want something a bit more. So I guess it does make sense, but it doesn't feel that much time later.
If it's Batman Beyond, I wouldn't say is, because I just want to clarify, I wouldn't say it's like much darker than the New Adventures, but I will say it does feel like it's tailored to just the more mature, not the more mature, I think the teen audience. That's what I'd say.
It feels like it's grown up with it, though. It doesn't feel like it's not going for the same target audience that Batman the Animated Series was in the, say, Batman series again. We're aiming for kids aged 12 to 15 or something. This doesn't seem like this is also going, we're aiming for kids aged 12 to 15, where it seems like they're going, we're aiming for those kids that were 12 to 15. What would they want to watch now? That's what it feels like.
I'd agree with you there. But what did you think of the whole setting then, of it being Batman Beyond, Batman of the Future, as it's called in some countries, which did confuse you?
It did confuse me because the box set says Batman Beyond, and then the film started and it went Batman of the Future, and I went, no, it's not. It's Batman Beyond. Why have you got your own name wrong?
I do like that.
It was like going to see an Ant-Man film and then Spider-Man comes up. It's like, no. It was like, what are we doing here? So that did confuse me. That's why I messaged you going, why is it saying Batman of the Future? Because that is not what I'm watching. So it's obviously just a regional
it's exactly the same thing, but yeah.
But
like when I watched it on Kicks of all channels when I was younger on the TV, it was Batman of the Future, and then when I watched the box set, it was Batman Beyond, and I was like, this is the same program. But yeah, it's just different name.
That's even weird if you go up to somebody else is like also a really big Batman fan. You know, what's your favorite version? Say if you like went, oh, I love Batman of the Future. And it's going, oh, I've not seen that one. I really like Batman Beyond. Oh, what's that about? And then having this conversation where you're talking about exactly the same show, going, they sound really similar. I wonder which one came first. But it's actually the same program. But no, I enjoyed it. I really liked. I mean, some things with the future setting, I did think, how have you progressed this much technology in about 40 years? Not even 40 years. Tim Drake at one point says it's been nearly 40 years. So it's not even 40 years later. And somehow they've managed to go from like weird 1940s style cars to now floating hover cars. And I'm going, right. In normal Earth history, you've gone from 1940 to 1990 here, roughly, maybe even the 80s. We did not have hovering cars in the 80s and 90s. So I'm not sure how you've managed this, but let's just suspend the belief for a moment.
I give it to artistic license, and also technology kind of snowballs. So once you've got that technology, which Batman kind of had, it would snowball. Okay, let's go from the 1920s to the 1950s. A lot of stuff changed, but if you go from literally 20 years ago, look at how computers have changed. You know, it's really a snowballing thing.
I think that with a lot of periods, weird historical moment of the podcast, but I think that either when you think of history, you tend to think of things as centuries. Like the 1500s are very much their own thing. Then the 1600s become their own thing. And then the 1700s. But then in modern history, it's not centuries anymore. It's decades. And we now go 70s, 80s, 90s are all very much their own thing. 2000s. So I guess if I'm gonna give it some sort of license, say Wayne was like, I've got all this technology, guys. Here, have this, and then more companies start copying, and then blah 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 blah.
I mean, it would make sense after he stops being. It makes sense after he stops being Batman to then go, well, I'll help the world with technology instead. That kind of makes sense, actually. There you go, Batman Beyond.
That's our explanation for how suddenly they go from chuk, 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 chuk. It's like, how have you done them? Oh, whatever. The second note I wrote, first one was about Batman. The second one I wrote was Gotham is really futuristic. It's got laser weapons and all the Art Deco is gone, yet it still feels like Gotham. And I thought that was a really impressive thing, that every single building is different. It's not even like they've kept any of those 1920s buildings. Someone got very busy and knocked them all down and built new ones. And yet it still feels like Gotham. And I'm like, not for a second going, that's not Gotham. What kind of futuristic city is this? I thought that was quite impressive that they managed to do that.
I don't know how they managed to do that. I don't, but I know exactly what you mean. It still feels Gotham. It's got that grungy, like lower city element, but then it's kind of got the high rise futuristic bit, which is still, I think what they did, they looked at what Gotham has and they kind of just translated that to the new city. So you look at whatever the old city had and it has the grungy alleys, the really crime alleys. You transfer that over. You still have this kind of thing, but just the structure's a bit more futuristic. And same with the skyscrapers.
As if they've got like the skyline of Gotham from what they had before, and they've kept it exactly the same. And that this building is this high, and this one's this, and then this one's like, it's like they've kept that exactly the same. But instead of it being this old building, they've gone futuristic blue building, but they're exactly the same shape. When you watch it, you go, this is Gotham, but this isn't Gotham, because it's a completely different city. We're not in the same city at all.
The only thing that's exactly the same is Wayne Manor.
But it is exactly the same. Yeah, Wayne Manor's the same, but that's obviously, you never see that in the same shot with Gotham. But it was like, this is very clearly Gotham, yet it's not a Gotham. But so I thought that was quite impressive that they were like, it did feel like Gotham. It didn't feel, because even when you've got a different Batman as well, and you're in our futuristic city, it's very easy to suddenly go, where are we? Are we still in Gotham? What is going on? And then it's, if you've got a city that doesn't feel like Gotham, and then a character that you're telling me is Batman, if it doesn't feel like Gotham, I'm going to go, is it really Batman then? Is it? I mean, I know it's not really, but is it like, is it?
Yeah.
Like, but the fact I never went, that's not Batman. Give me the guy in the cape. I never did that because
Joker says that at some point.
Yeah, he does. And I never believed it wasn't Gotham. So.
I've never really thought of this in terms of Batman Beyond, and you're exactly right, actually. And I think that the fact I've never thought of it gives it more credence, because it's like, it's just well done. But you mentioned that's not Batman, that's no cape. So what did you think of the Batman Beyond Batsuit?
Right. Well, firstly, I'm a bit confused at the cowl, because to me the whole suit can go invisible and all this kind of thing, so I'd assume that's actually a helmet, and then instead it gets pulled off like a normal cloth mask, and I was a bit like, how have you managed that then? Because it seems to sit in place very well, because it's just a mask. It's not a cowl where it's a whole thing, it's just a mask. So I thought, if this was translated to real life, you've essentially just got a bag on your head and somehow you managed to keep the horns. But whatever. Besides
think of it like, I've always thought of it like the fabric from Batman Begins when you put a current through it. I've always thought of it like that kind of thing, or like nanomachines, nanobots, because the suit actually has like a layer of armor underneath, which is really high tech, but then it's got that fabric over the top.
I suppose so, but it was a bit like, surely there should be whatever.
I kind of like it though, because it feels kind of futuristic. You've got this fabric, you put that thing on, rigid ears. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it just confuses me. People, if we never saw him take it off, I'd be completely fine with it. It's when suddenly it just comes off like and does that. I'm like, hey,
would you rather the rubber Keaton one, which is all stretchy? No, but then when he takes it off and it kind of rips and it's
Yeah. But no, I like this suit because it is Batman, but it isn't Batman.
Mm.
Like at one point when he was jumping around and he's flying over it and he turns invisible, then he shoots this and does that. I was going, this essentially, and I even wrote a note saying this is essentially if Batman had superpowers, because it's all part of your suit, yes, but the way you're using them is as if you had superpowers. So I thought, imagine this. I mean, I don't know if this has ever been done, but I thought, imagine this Batman with the Justice League. All of them have just got superpowers. They're all just all over the place. It's not even. It's not Batman's not just the one in the corner anymore. Going, huh, huh. He's now suddenly got superpowers as well. So I thought that'd be a very interesting dynamic. That would.
I really do love this suit. It's probably one of my favorite bat suits, or Batman suits as Batman called it, which always irks me. Bat suit, the Batman suit. But I've always been a huge fan of this one. No, I really do like the kind of the black suit and kind of the red symbol and the little red accents. It's really nice actually, and it's kind of I like the lack of a cape, but it's got kind of the
Yeah.
wings that extend out and the really long ears. I love long ears. The best way to do a good bat suit is to have really long ears.
So basically, when the Batman happens, we want his because we've seen like his rough suit. If he maybe gets a new suit by the end of the film, maybe we just want it just to be like
Yeah.
charges at people.
No, but I love how sleek it is. I think that's the way to summarize this suit for me. And I love the powers it's got because it feels. I feel like if I could have any bat suit and make it a reality, it would be this one because it's got all the
because
things.
it does something.
Yeah, but it's
Any
got all
other
the things I
any
really
other
like
bat
about
suit,
it.
you've got the suit, but you haven't got the skill, have you? So you're just like, I've got the suit. Whereas this one, I feel like you could master the stuff after a
Yeah,
while.
after a while. But I like all of its little gadgets, the little microphone on the fingertips. That's great. The invisibility, which I like how he doesn't rely on, which is nice. I feel like if you got it, you would rely on it, but it's nice how he doesn't because it feels like that would be a crutch. Oh, another thing I love about it, I love how the batarangs come from his wrist. So they flick up, then flick down. That is so more practical than getting them from your belt. Have them flick up and just being able to throw them. That is one of the best things, and that should be in every Batman medium.
And also, if that was in like Batman 1966, 90% of the episodes couldn't happen because most of them have Batman tied up and he goes, I can't reach my batarangs. So if you just go right, let's get out of it, it'd be job done.
And
there would be no same bat time, same bat channel, because it'd be over in 20 minutes.
Just be out there. But it is that is one of the few gadgets that I think from this I would want in normal Batman continuity, the wrist launched batarang, because I think that could obviously work in modern Batman time, and I think it'd be a great addition actually. But
it's not even that hard to fit. It'd just be like Spider-Man's web shoot.
Yeah,
well,
exactly. Just flick them up, throw it, and it could go back, retract. It'd be great. But one thing I really like, not one thing I really like, an interesting fact about this suit, it's not actually it's not bleeding edge anymore, because Batman Bruce Wayne wore it before Terry McGinnis came along, when he was about in his kind of 60s, 50s, kind of 20 years before. So the suit is actually at least 20 years old, but it's still.
Well, that makes even less sense.
No, but I love it. No, but I love it because that means it's actually way ahead. That just shows you how ahead of the curve Batman is with his technology, that even this 20, maybe 10-year-old suit is still ahead of the curve. You know, it really, I like that.
It is a bit cruel when you think about it, though, isn't it?
What?
Like, he's got all this technology, but he doesn't share it with the world. It's like in Black Panther, when they were like, you've got all this tech, you can save so many diseases, share it with the world. So they went, okay, we'll open Wakanda up. Batman's a bit like, my tech. What are you going to do about it?
I mean, his tech isn't really life-saving, is it?
But he's like making that vaccine thing for the
okay, maybe that, yeah.
Thing. So imagine what other diseases he can solve, that he's got all the stuff he knows how to do it, and he's like, my lab, get out, mine.
Yeah. I mean,
how many people like who are paralyzed and they can't move their legs, they can't move their arms? The Batman could be like, I could solve that
with the suit. Probably
I could give you some suit legs or anything, but you're not Batman, are you? So you don't get it.
I mean, Batman in the animated series has always been like that, hasn't he? Though he's always been a bit grouchy when it comes to his stuff. Like even in this film, he says to Terry, "Go away," and I'm like, the dude's the only hope you have of stopping the Joker here. What's wrong with you? But that's enough about the suit. Sorry, I just like the suit. But speaking of Terry, like let's lean into actually Terry as Batman, the Batman Beyond. Enough of his
Campus
suits.
Christmas.
Campus Christmas, but
When he's dancing in the club and he's doing all of this, I was like, are you impressing? You're supposed to be impressing a girl here, but I imagine the other guys in the club are like, hey, look
I
at
mean,
this
he's
Terry
already
guy."
with Dana, so it's not really like, but
Well, it's quite surprising after that dance.
he can't. I like it. It's how I dance now. Oh no.
You know, I was like, very effeminate there,
Hmm.
Terry. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
He's got moves. Leave him alone. But stop saying but George. Terry gives me some serious kind of. I'd say Terry is like Batman crossed with Dick Grayson, with a heavy splash of Spider-Man.
my route was Terry / Bruce. Also, it makes me laugh that this guy's supposed to be from the future and he's called Terry. That made me laugh. But you think usually when things when things are like set in the future, they're usually called like Zanzibar hashtag or something, aren't they? And this guy's Terry. Anyway, it's like, are you a bloke in his 50s? Like what? But anyway, like so basically in this future, he's born now
Mhm.
and he's called Terry.
Mhm. I mean, I quite
Really?
like the name Terry because of this show. So
But it only belongs to people 60 plus. But
Yes.
anyway, that aside, something I wrote was Terry / Bruce relationship feels like a very, no, I didn't write very, I read that off a different page. Feels like a more self-assured Robin. That's what I put in that. It's kind of like a Robin, kind of the young guy with the dark hair, but he knows what he's doing a bit more.
it was
That's
a
what
lot
I
like
thought.
how I see Tim Drake as in the comics sometimes, like
Hmm.
more that kind of thing. But I really do.
Kind of Nightwingy, I thought, from what I've
Yeah,
seen of Nightwing.
Nightwing, if he'd have stayed, maybe.
Yes, that's how I thought
Yeah,
he was.
I'm with you. I do
He
thoroughly,
has more in common with Robin than he does Batman, I think. So
and I think that's good. I really
uh,
think that's good.
and I think that's also probably the point, really, isn't it?
And if I could be any Batman, I'd probably want to be Terry McGinnis's Batman because he's less depressed and because he's just
But how does he become Batman?
basically his father is killed by the Jokers, and he then stumbles upon the Batcave basically and steals the suit.
How do you just stumble across the Batcave?
He was working for Bruce Wayne as his carer, basically.
Oh, okay.
So he was in the cave. He found the bat suit and he stole it to get revenge. And then Bruce says, "No, screw you. I'm going to lock the suit down." And then he's just going to be literally beaten up by these guys. And then eventually Bruce lets him use the suit. And then it's Terry proving to Bruce why he deserves to be Batman. And then that eventually,
Okay.
it's a very different kind of story actually, because Terry chose to be Batman. That's the difference here. There's like no sign of him being pushed down that route by anyone ever at all. It is just literally Terry being like, I'm going to do
I want to
this.
do that.
Yeah. And Bruce actually actively saying no. It's a really nice dynamic, that. But that's another reason why I like Terry's Batman, because he wants to do this. There's no, like, whenever Dick Grayson is being Batman, there's always this element of, I don't want to be what the old guy is because he's depressed and moody and angry. But with Terry, he's never seen this. He's never seen Batman in his prime. So he doesn't have that idea of what Batman is. So he's not trying to be that. He's just his Batman. And I like that actually. But I think if I were to be any Batman, I'd probably want to be Terry's. And I really like Terry McGinnis as a version of Batman because I believe he is Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne's Batman. And he's not the perfect interpretation of the original Batman. That's just not what he is, because he's Batman Beyond. And I think he's a wonderful Batman. And I really do like him. And I think he's probably one of my all-time favorites, really. I really like him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I was watching him kind of. It's like, it's a weird thing because I know he's Batman, but just from outside references, like Batman Beyond. I've got the pop of him. And when I got the pop, I was never like, you're not Batman. I was like, yeah, that's Batman. But then I kind of watch it and I think, you're not really, are you? But I still accept him as he is. So it's like I'm watching it going, you don't really have anything in common with Batman. My very idea of Batman, you don't line up to that. If I had a checklist of every single thing that I associate with Batman, you would not tick any of them. And yeah, I'm not like going, you're not Batman. Like I said to you, like when he's doing all the quips and he's like saying things to people, and somebody says, Bonk, don't do this. And he goes, yes, Bonk. And he's saying things like that. He was really Wolverine-like in those moments. Like something like not quite, they're not Spider-Man quips, because Spider-Man quips are much more cheekier. They're not there. But Wolverine does these kind of very sarcastic quips when he's fighting. And they felt a lot like that. And I was like thinking, well, Batman doesn't do quips. When has Batman ever done a fight and gone, da, 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 and said something? He doesn't do that. So I'm like, but I'm not like going, you're the wrong character. It's like with Gotham. You're a completely different character. You have nothing in common. And yet I believe it's you.
Batman does not kill. Batman Beyond also doesn't kill. And there have been some people saying, oh, but he does because of these things in the show. He doesn't, because he actively saves someone. And in this, he actively saves one of the DDs from falling. Just saying. But I do just like, ultimately I really like Terry. And I think a huge part of why Terry is so good is Will Friedel's voice acting. I think he's a really nice addition to the cast. Kind of lightens everything. It's nice. But that's enough about the newer Batman. Let's talk a bit about the old boy, the raggedy old man sitting in the chair with his walking stick.
Is he in all of Batman Beyond, or does he give up at some point?
Who?
Bruce.
He's in all of it.
So he's always the man in the chair.
Basically, up until the epilogue, which is actually done in Justice League, but that's very strange. That it's good, but it's not actually connected, but it is connected.
Because I was just wondering, do you ever get to see Terry out on his own, or is it always the Terry and Bruce squad?
Not in the show. In the epilogue that was done in Justice League, yes, you see Terry being by himself, and he's actually he's closer to Bruce Wayne's Batman then. Bit darker.
I'd probably like that a bit more. But
it's.
I just think it would be. How many series are there of Batman Beyond? 2?
3.
Because it would have been more interesting, I think, if you'd done like 2 where it's Bruce in the chair, then the last one is like Bruce is gone now, or Bruce is too old to do this now. What happens now? But no, it's quite interesting that he is just the man in the chair, and he's still like, I still want to cry. I still want to cry. I still want to I still want to crime fight. No, that's still not right. I still want to fight crime.
I still want to crime fight. I want to find crime.
I got there in the end. I still want to fight crime, but he can't anymore. So he just sits in a chair telling people what to do. I do quite like that. Other than that, he's kind of a bit just there, isn't he, really? Like, he doesn't really have many. He meets the Joker, but there's never it would have been quite nice to see a big interaction between them rather than just gets gassed and then watches him on a screen later on. But I don't know.
I think it's really nice seeing Bruce's Batman older. Like the Batman the Animated Series is Batman older. But I do agree with you now that you've told me that. And now that I've thought about the epilogue, it's very much like I would have liked to see Terry McGinnis as an older Batman. Like we see Terry, I wouldn't say in his prime, but we see him like not top of his game, but really high up in his ability in this film. Like you see him kicking ass, but I think we don't ever see him by himself. And I think that's when you'd get to see Terry in his prime.
Yeah, because I say that because I used to watch all the CW shows and they all have a man in the chair, and it gets really repetitive after a while. And that's why I'm thinking, I don't know if I was to finally get around to watching Batman Beyond, which I will do one day, but I might be in my 50s. But I don't know.
Wait, hold on.
I don't know how long I don't know how much of just the guy in the chair I can really take, because I've seen so much of it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking it would have been slightly more interesting to me if it was just like Batman. It'll give weight to what Batman Beyond means as well. If it was Batman beyond Bruce Wayne's death, then that would be quite interesting. But I like Bruce Wayne. Obviously, I like Bruce Wayne because it's Bruce Wayne, and I completely believe it is the Bruce Wayne that I know from the animated series. But there are a few times I kind of think, why do I need you?
I think you would, even with everything you've just said, that I think you still thoroughly enjoy Batman Beyond the main show, because it's not just the man in the chair, like with Alfred kind of basically in the animated series always supporting him. it's a bit more of the techie man in the chair mixed in with him being quite abrasive towards Terry. Like there's a lot of instances where he's just very abrasive, you know? But even so in the show, there are moments where Bruce does come out. Like he's not just sitting in the chair. He does do stuff. I mean, I won't spoil an episode of the show, but there is an episode of the show where he's makes a bit of a comeback, and it's it's an incredible moment actually. So it does do more than just the man in the chair, but I do agree we could have had more of without him. That would be interesting actually. But Joker, the giggly man played by Mark Hamill.
Which made me laugh because I was so stupid watching the opening credits and saw Mark Hamill's name, and I genuinely went, "Oh, I wonder who he's playing." And then I went, "It's called Return of the Joker, you idiot!" But it hadn't occurred to me that it was going to be the same voice actor. I was like, "Oh, yes."
What do you think of Joker?
I really liked the Joker being in it until it turned out he was the same person as Tim Drake.
I
was like,
yeah,
"What are you doing?"
I kind of agree with you because it takes away from it being the same Joker, because then it isn't actually the same person.
No, and then you get a big exposition dump and sci-fi mumbo jumbo. I planted my personality into a chip, and this chip has been in his neck the whole time. But his wife and kids never noticed this chip on his neck, and nobody has ever noticed this chip on his neck, which was quite big because it made a significant black dot on his neck.
Which, when he's having a shower, would have fallen off at some point. What's this here? Bit of chocolate. That's what it would have been.
Like, has he never looked in the mirror and gone, "What is that there?" Or does he just forget it because then the Jokers might just go, "You don't know," and then just come back again?
Well, probably. But
that whole, it's that thing again where it's like just suspending your belief. How far does the technology go in this point? Because I'm like, it's the type of thing I'd see in Doctor Who set far in the future and go, does that really make sense? Oh, I guess I'll just go with it. So when it's like supposed to be like, no, this is when it's supposed to be a real Earth technology, just 40 years in the future, I'm like, no. Just no.
Would I have rathered it be a robot or something made by the government? Or not the government, but you know. What would have you preferred instead of that then? Give me a solution.
I'd just prefer the Joker survived, because then it makes it just feel like he is this force that you really can't get rid of. You think he's dead. No, he manages to come back. He's like a cockroach and he just survives.
Yeah.
That's how I prefer it.
I do agree with you there.
Like he is just like, if you just say he is the embodiment of evil, you can defeat evil for a time, but you can never win against it because it will always be evil. That's kind of how I'd prefer it, rather than just like, I put my personality into a chip and I managed to survive, and every now and then I appear and I've managed to turn my whole face green and change my white and change my hair. And I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. But then he'd be a lot older, but then you could just have him.
But so is Bruce Wayne. So
yeah, but then you wouldn't get the scene at the end where it's just Terry beating the crap out of Joker.
It can still do that, but it's just a really old man.
Yeah, just Terry beating the crap out of an old guy.
It's elder abuse, but you know,
but
go for
it's abuse of an elderly psychopath. It's different, you see.
I'm sure the police won't mind. Why does it say S on their chest as well? What does that stand for on the police?
I've never noticed that.
Were they even police? You know, when he handed in that guy who I wrote down, if this guy's the Joker, that was going to be way too obvious. The guy who was on the boat. When he was
voiced by Mark Hamill. It's basically a bait and switch, that.
No. Well, when they handed him into those guards that I assumed were police, their chests said S on them.
Special police.
And I was like, S? I was going, have you forgotten how to spell police? Because there's no S in police.
There is.
Okay.
Police.
Police.
Policia. But yeah. I don't know why that is, but
no, it confused me. That did.
I never noticed it. So I don't care. Joker coming back, I do like. Apart from yes, it's a bit too sci-fi, but him coming back and him being the actual Joker, I think is a really nice moment for Batman Beyond's series, the whole show, because it gives a bit more credence to the Jokers, and it's
necessary as well. You can't have a Batman without a Joker. You need to happen.
In the show, you didn't get that. You'd get the Joker's gang, who are kind of inspired by Joker, which is there's a great moment in the show where they're basically attacking Bruce Wayne, saying we're the Jokers, and they're being really kind of playing it up. And Bruce is just old Bruce saying, you're not, basically. Just like, you're really not, and then just beats them up with his cane. And it's just like, that's nice, but you never in the main show get to see Terry against Joker, and it doesn't, he's Batman in the show, but it kind of somehow just takes away something, him not fighting Joker in a weird way, because Joker's Batman's nemesis, for crying out loud. But then in this film, you get to see him fight the nemesis, and it really, it elevates the show by doing that. And
It legitimizes it, doesn't it?
exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, no, it's exactly that, aim about Joker.
It's just a shame it isn't the Joker.
Yes. And I
Because
think
it
that would
does-
add more to it, because it is the Joker, but it's not
But
the
it isn't,
Joker, because it
like-
can't be, because it's his memories and it's that thing. I would, now that you've said it, I prefer it to be the actual Joker, and then it is Batman Beyond beating him up. Have Joker just die in that explosion then. If you want to, or just have it, because I don't think locking him up would work, because that's the thing. Now I'm thinking, but you do want him dead, but I don't want Terry to kill him.
Mm.
There's a solution somewhere there. But
If Tim Drake is still in this final act, say he's been a prisoner rather than he is the Joker, whatever, have him kill him.
there you go.
for it.
Okay. There you go. You've got the same Tim killing him again. He's just killed him again. Just
Yeah. What you can do, right? We'll do this the proper way. In the uncensored scene, you will have him. Tim Drake electrocutes the Joker, thinks he's dead. Joker does his line, "Ugh, I'm dead." And then at the end, Tim Drake shoots him. So best of both worlds. You've got both kills.
And
Job's a
Terry,
good one.
and Terry still doesn't kill, because he doesn't kill.
It could be a case of like Terry has the Joker, he's beating him up, he's all like, you think he's probably going to die, and he's probably going to get taken to hospital and die anyway. But at the moment, he's still alive, so Terry's still the good guy. And it could be like, the police are on the way, they're going to come and get you. And the next minute, you hear a shot fired. Tim Drake is like, that's an end to that.
This is why we're filmmakers, ladies and gentlemen.
Can we do a new cut of this film, please? Because I much prefer my version.
Give me the Aiden cut. That's what I want.
I prefer
Give me
my
the
version.
Gula cut. The Gullah cut.
Suddenly I'm like going, yeah, I love this film, but it's a fictional film that doesn't even
Yeah.
exist.
I do this way too much. Where you just think of this fictional thing. It's like, oh, that was great. You know, that's not real, George.
Yeah.
That's
You
that's
think
not a
about,
thing.
think about the film, you go, oh, I really liked that. Then you watch it and you go, hold on,
that
this
didn't happen.
doesn't happen. Oh, yeah, it does, because I'm thinking of my version.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Joker's great in it. The Joker's wonderful. And Mark Hamill's brilliant. And it's a great addition. But the way he's shoehorned in could have been done slightly better. That's what we're saying about the Joker. Yeah.
One thing I did like also about the Joker, just while we're still here,
Mhm.
is that when Tim Drake tells him Batman's identity, I've always believed anyway that Joker knows who Batman is, but just doesn't care, because his kind of enemy isn't Bruce Wayne. I kind of like what I really like, and then it kind of does get spoiled by this a bit later in the film. But an idea I've always liked is that the Joker's enemy is Batman, but he doesn't care about Bruce Wayne. But Bruce Wayne, it's personal to him. And he's like, Bruce Wayne and Batman hate the Joker. But for the Joker, he's like, Bruce Wayne, yeah, I know he's Batman, but I don't care about him. I just care about Batman. I want to kill Batman. I could go to Wayne. It's like the Joker could think, I could go to Wayne Manor and just put a bullet in Bruce Wayne's head while he's asleep. But how boring would that be? I want to fight Batman. I really like that as an idea. So when Tim Drake, I was about to say Tim Blake, and I think that's an actor. Tim Drake, when he tells the Joker Batman's identity and he goes, it's Bruce Wayne, I feel like that's just him confirming what the Joker already knew.
Yeah.
And I quite like the idea that when he goes and sees Bruce Wayne in the Batcave, he could have done that at any time, but he thinks, well, I can just go tell him that I know now, that kind of thing. But
I do like that idea for Joker. And I think that is kind of true. Not with all versions of
which
Joker,
is why I would have
obviously, but
preferred it if it was the same Joker again. But
yeah. Yeah. I get you.
But it does get spoiled a bit later on, because he kind of, when he's fighting Terry's Batman, he's like, you're not Batman. I want to fight the real Batman. That kind of spoils it, because then it does feel like he's personal against Bruce Wayne specifically, rather than just Batman as an idea. But
I think he is personal towards that Batman, because I think it's the idea that Terry isn't the original Batman. Not that he's not Bruce Wayne, he isn't Batman. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what it is. He's not saying you're not the right Batman, he's saying you're just not Batman. That's what I think that is. But that whole final fight scene I really do like, actually, where it's just where Terry breaks the lever of the door and just says, "Let's dance, bozo," and then just kicks his ass. And I love that because it is the idea of Joker's,
See that, like, does Terry say that?
yeah, "Let's dance, bozo."
Very Wolverine. Very
It's a
Wolverine.
very
that
cool
is.
line. It's very cool. And if Wolverine's like this, I might really like Wolverine now, you know?
That's what in the comics, in the animated series, that's what Wolverine's like. He says all these things like that, but it'd probably be, "Let's dance, bub." It probably wouldn't be there, but it is that kind of thing. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't feel like Batman, because Batman doesn't make quips, but it does feel like, we had this conversation.
Yes. But that final fight scene is very cool because it's just Terry being his version of Batman more, and I think it's leaning more into him being in his prime, you know? It's,
And also, is that
he
just,
knows who he is.
is that just before, does he fight the other Jokers just before that scene?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's when he's doing all the invisible stuff and he jumps out of the way of the Harley clone things and then all that kind of thing. So I did like that because that is him. That's when I said this is Batman with superpowers. So I did enjoy that fight.
It's Terry with some real resolve, and he knows who this guy is now. He knows he's got all this context, and he's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna beeline for you and just get through all of you guys." And he brings Ace the Bat Hound with him. Yes, love that.
I love that Ace is in it. Like, that's such a nice detail to include there.
Ace is a heavy part of the show as well. There's a whole episode in the show where they get Ace. It's really nice, actually. It's very sweet. But Ace is, yeah, I've always believed Ace to be a canon thing in Batman mythos. And this is and it's important for Bruce Wayne to have a dog because dude's on a walking stick. But
there was one point, my stupidity made me laugh when Bruce Wayne was in the bed and he was kind of all sweaty because he was coming over the Joker thing. And I was like, "Where's Alfred? What? Usually Alfred's in this scene." I thought, no, I'm sure he's long dead. Long dead.
Like, where is Alfred? In a grave. Like, the dude's
it's just that thing. It's just that thing. But that kind of shows how good of a job this does of showing that this is still Batman in the same world, especially when we have that flashback scene as well. Reminds you this is the same world, and also the music difference there when you get the orchestral music rather than the kind of music all the time, which does date it. And I love it. I know you like it, but it does feel very much that phase of like Matrix and The Punisher and all those films. When,
I love that music.
You know, when everything had a green filter and Rob Zombie did the songs for every single film. It seems to be like that. It very much feels like that era. But what was my point? No, by me going, "Where's Alfred?" it is actually them proving and showing me that this is still very much the Batman world. I believe this is the Batman world. So for me, it feels wrong and it's weird for me to go, "Well, why isn't Alfred there?" But then I do realize he would be about 150. So
yeah. Just one final thing, because you mentioned the music. I love the music in this, and it's probably part of the reason why I like this kind of music now. And Christopher Carter, who does the music for this, I like what he's done, and I think it fits perfectly with this world. Yes, it does date it, but it is a perfect fit for Batman Beyond. And having the kind of the classic orchestral music in the flashback, it's really, I've said this before and I'll say it again, music is important with creating a character, especially comic book characters. And by having these two completely distinct music tracks, like not tracks, styles, you have the orchestra and you have the synthwave. It separates it being Batman the Animated Series is Batman, Bruce Wayne, to Terry McGinnis' Batman. Separates it using the music, and I think that's really nice.
The flashback did make me come around on it a bit more, because when I was all the before that, I was like, "What is this? What is going on?" But then when they had the orchestral thing, I was like, I noticed that, and then went back. I went back to the I was like, actually, I can kind of appreciate this. I still don't like it, but I can appreciate it a bit more now.
Yes.
Now that
I do like it, but that's fair enough. Yes, but if you really, I think the way the music is done perfectly is actually in the epilogue, because what they do is they have kind of.
I need to see this epilogue because it sounds better than what I just watched.
Brilliant. It's actually a Justice League episode, but it's just purely Batman Beyond, because Justice League Unlimited came out after Batman Beyond, and Batman Beyond had finished airing, so it's kind of like they were giving it a finale. Really, that's what they were doing. But basically,
was Batman Beyond cancelled, or did they have plans to end it?
I honestly, I don't know, but from everything in my mind, it feels more like it probably was cancelled. But if it was just ended, it feels like it was probably ended too soon. That's That's how it is. But in the epilogue, that Bruce Wayne's gone. Well, not gone. Bruce Wayne's basically bedridden at that point. And Terry's going out by himself at the end of the episode. And what it does is, do you know the first ever episode of Batman the Animated Series where Man-Bat flies past the airship? What it does is the final episode ends with Batman the Animated Series' theme, but with a synthwave element. Like it's the den, but it's the but it's the animated series theme kicks up, and Batman Beyond flies past a flying car in exactly the same way as the first episode of Batman the Animated Series, and it is a wonderful ending to Batman Beyond. And
did we ever see it again? Ever see his character again after that? Was that it?
No, that's just the ending.
But
we see him in the comics, but that's it. And I think it's a very good send off. And the music there, what it does is it shows that this is an older Terry, closer to what Bruce Wayne is. The music melds, and that's brilliant. But that's it on music, George.
So I would say that sounds then like it was cancelled because that sounds like an ending that they had planned, and then it was like, oh, we can't do that. Let's stick it in the Justice League show. But it sounds like a much better kind of send off, and it would have been nice to have that for a full series. And I probably would have I really liked this. I'm not saying this is bad, and I'm like, oh, I don't like it, but I probably would have preferred that as a concept, kind of just being like, as you get warmed up with Terry and Bruce, which sounds like a 1960s comedy duo, Terry and Bruce.
Two men in a bat suit.
If it was like two or three series of Terry and Bruce, and then for a final series it was just Terry, that would be like, what a perfect combination you've done there. And it's a bit disappointing we didn't get that,
but yes. Any other final thoughts?
To be honest, I preferred this over Mask of the Phantasm. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I actually preferred this. But suddenly you're going to boot me off the Zoom call, aren't you?
No, because I'm actually thinking.
I think I'm more likely to probably rewatch this one again, but maybe that's just because it's kind of fresh and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. But I'll just turn it off. I'll turn it off when the Joker gets revealed and just end it there. But
that was good.
As soon as he reaches for it, I'll go, right, that's it. What actually happened there was the Joker. And then this ending happened. You just look at your
storyboards you wrote earlier. And what happens is this.
I'm going to do a really badly edited and cut version where suddenly it's like he reaches and then suddenly it's like, ah, and then he is actually the real Joker in a mask. That's what I was saying. And Tim Drake's actually over there with a gag in his mouth. I much prefer my version. I'm going to stop talking about it.
Okay. But no, final thoughts from me. As I've already said, I really enjoy it, and I love Batman Beyond. And I would love a Batman Beyond live action film, but I don't think it needs to be connected to anything previously. I think it would be better as a standalone thing. You can bring in previous actors, like have Michael Keaton come back, but I don't think connecting it to the Michael Keaton era is a good idea, because then you lose elements of Batman, because then Batman Beyond would also be a murderer as well, and then none of the characters could carry over. It just wouldn't work. So if you want to do Batman Beyond live action, I say I'd love it and it'd be great. Use the same actors if you want, but make it its own continuity.
But yeah, so next week, what are we doing then?
Well, next week we are
next week is our penultimate episode.
Oh yeah, crikey. Well, what we're doing next week is we are going to talk about another Batman of the future. We're going to be talking about The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2, which is an older Batman, but there's no Terry McGinnis.
No.
It's very interesting, that.
It also, it can't fit into this world either, can it?
No.
So that's quite interesting. I'm looking forward to that one, but yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite animations. It's not my favorite being Batman Under the Red Hood, which unfortunately we're not going to talk about on this podcast.
Because we can't critique it.
No, it'd just be me and Aidan sitting here telling you listeners and watchers how much me and Aidan really like it and how much I love it. It would be boring. I might give you a 5-minute clip of one.
Yeah,
but no.
You could do that. Do your own little, just why I love Under the Red Hood.
Yeah. But thank you for watching and listening, everyone.
Yes. Also, if you are here and you listen to Exterminating Doctor Who as well, that is coming back very soon.
Very soon.
Very, very soon. It'll probably be out before the next episode. When you're listening to this, it will be out before the next episode of this. So, yes.
Yes. Aiden's baby is back and George's baby is
dying.
And on that note, we'll see you next week.
Same bat time.
Same bat channel. Bye-bye.